and we're going to start here. And honestly, in my opinion, we're out of time. We're out of time. I mean, we're just at this point, I believe we're in the Father's hands, that we have really ran completely out of all the times frames that are listed in the Bible. We've already gone through them now. And we're going to cover that. I want to cover that briefly. Y'all know Isaiah 21, verse 6, and some of you may not agree with me on this, but I'm going to go through it because I feel that it applies to our election that we had. And it says, the watchman declare what you see. And there may be other interpretations for this, but verse 7, he saw a chariot. That word in Hebrew is team. I'll bring that up in a second here. A couple meaning two, running. That means a couple of horsemen running. You're going to see that in the next verse. And a chariot of asses. That could actually be the donkeys or the Democratic Party, which is their name. And a chariot of camels, which that word in Hebrew is the beast of burden. That can be elephants. And he hearkened diligently with much heed. So here is the verse right here. Here is the explanation of what this is: a team, a cavalry. It can have, it sounds like it's a group of people in this case. And because here's a couple of horsemen, but notice the next verse, they're running. And here comes a chariot of men with a couple of horsemen. They're running. Do y'all see that? And then it says, Babylon is fallen, Babylon is fallen. So it's telling you, it's putting a marker there saying that sometime after that election, that presidential election, Babylon it will fall. And so it's this is the Father giving us more. He's not telling us exactly when it's going to happen, right? But he's giving you markers in time. And we've run out of time. We really have run out of time. Now, here's the other ones. Here's the other ones. All right, y'all know this one, Isaiah 7, verse 6, and it says, the head of Damascus is Rezin. Within 65 years, Ephraim, who is the nation with the double blessing, that's America, is broken, and she's no longer a people after 65 years. So where do you count from? And I always chose to count from when she became the 50th state. And so 50, when she became the 50th state, was 1959. If you add 65 to that, you come up to 2024. See, we truly are out of time. No matter how you look at this thing, we're right on the edge of it. So here is the other one, which is the 7-year period, starting on August 21st to 2017, which was the day of Elua on my calendar, at least. Every one of you are on different calendars. That's so funny to me. So anyway, that total eclipse, and that would have been a 7-year period from this August 21st. Do y'all see that? But if you count from Elua to Elua on my calendar, then you wind up on Labor Day, which would have been October, I think September 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. So that 7-year period has already expired. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? That all these markers that the Father has used have expired. And we are truly in his hands right now as to when this thing will fly. And it could be months, it could be days, it could be weeks. We don't know. I mean, we don't know. I mean, there is some indication that it could be the ninth month, 24th day. And we're going to read that. Haggai 2, verse 10 talks about the ninth month, 24th day. He actually mentions in it here 3 times. And he says, ask now the priest concerning the law, saying, if somebody touches a dead body and are you unclean? And the priest answers, you shall be unclean. And he goes back and says, so is this people, so is this nation before me, and so is everyone that works with their hands, and that which they offer is unclean. So he said, everything in this nation is unclean. The whole system needs to come down. That's why you're going to see such a violent episode here, because it all has to be torn down. And that's a hard thing to think about, but that's what it is. Now, verse 15, it says, and I will from that day consider this day. It says, consider this day and upward before a stone was laid upon the stone in the temple of the Lord, or Yah. So the temple of is very interesting. It's very interesting because in Jeremiah, where everybody that's in Hebrew roots, they all believe that America's Babylon. They don't believe she's Israel, but they all believe she's Babylon. And so it gets me tickled. So 50:28, Jeremiah 50:28. Look at this verse. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion the vengeance of the Lord our God. He's doing vengeance. They know he's doing vengeance. The vengeance of his what? His temple. He is calling this land his temple. There's other verses that say it is his sanctuary. And then there's other verses he just comes out and says, this is my land. And he's tired of it being corrupted, for one. Now, here we go again. Jeremiah 51, verse 11, he says the same thing. Babylon, to destroy it, because of it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. So, we are his temple, yes. And that's one of the reasons he's saying this. But he's also saying that the land is his temple. And I'll find that verse before we stop, so that you can see where he calls this land his sanctuary. Because it was originally set up to be a place that they escaped, like a wilderness area. So what's going on now? We know they've already said, the Russian foreign minister made a statement. He was on a broadcast with Tucker, and he says nuclear war is not out of the equation. That's what he's really saying. That if they do go to war, it says if there's a war between Russia and the United States, they will use nuclear weapons. That's what he says. I mean, then here we see this verse being fulfilled right now. That's Daniel 11:44. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly make away many. He's talking about he being Trump, I think. That he knows that there's trouble between China and Russia, the east and the north. Do y'all see that? And so you see that they're concerned about it now. Everybody's watching this and they're concerned about it. So, it's not far-fetched to even think that the Father is now giving us warnings that it's coming, but nobody's paying attention. And nobody in the limelight, with the exception of one or two, even saying anything about people making any changes. I know that people like me and other people are saying this, but we don't matter. I'm telling you, we don't matter. We're in the shadows. The people at the I said the cool kids at the cool table are the ones that need to be speaking up. That's who needs to be speaking up, because they're the ones that people trust, and they need to come out and tell people what's about to happen, and they are telling people what's about to happen. Now let's get to this verse, Ezekiel 33, verse 2. So do we even have a prophet in the land? And that's going to be the question I'm going to ask. Son of man, speak to the children of thy people and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon the land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him as their watchman, okay? And when he sees the sword come upon the land, he will blow the trumpet and warn the people. So that's what's going on right now as we speak. Tucker is telling people, there's several that are telling them, look, be aware that we are about to get in a war with Russia. And whosoever hears the sound of the trumpets and takes not the warning, if the sword comes, take him away, and his blood shall be upon his head. So this person, whoever this person is that the Father is using, just his only job is to tell people the war is coming. That's all it says here. And when he sees the sword come upon the land, he is to warn them. Now, it would be nice if he warned them and told them to repent, but his job is just to warn them that it's coming. So, we can look at who this person is. When I look at the man of the coast, it's 7097. It means a person who is cut off, who is very extreme, who is it says outer coast, the shoreline, on the brink, or on the edge. I immediately could think of Alex Jones. I mean, that's who I think of. I'm sorry, everybody else is not going to agree with me, but I'm telling you, he is the one that's out on the brink and on the edge. And he's got millions of followers that are, and he's telling people that they need to get right with God. He doesn't know what we know. And so why the Father won't use us is he has a reason. And whatever that is, he is using some of these people in a small way. Now, that's what's going on right now. Tomorrow, this could change. I'm just telling you in terms of what we see right now as I'm talking. This is the only man that looks like he's doing the job. I'm going to show you that another verse. Here we go. Hosea 9, verse 8, and the watchman of Ephraim, that's us, America, was with God, and the prophet is a snare or a fowler in all his ways, and he's hated in the house of God. I don't think that's why I say I don't think it's Glenn Beck. I don't think it's Tucker, because they're not hated. But Alex Jones, no, they don't like him. And so I think he's the one that the Father is using right now. And I could be wrong. He just seems like the person who's given the most knowledge. He's telling people more about the Bible than the others. And, could this change tomorrow? Yes, it could. But I'm just saying, as it looks right now, anybody want to make a comment? Because I'd love to hear what y'all have to say. All right, so going on, verse 5, and he heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning, and his blood shall be upon him. He that takes the warning shall deliver his soul. So if you take the warning and you realize that the warning is, for you to repent, then you're going to deliver your soul. That's what he says. But if the watchman sees the sword come and blows not the trumpet, and the people are not warned, and the sword comes and it takes any person among them that takes them in their iniquity, but his blood will be required at the watchman's hands. Now, this is talking specifically to this one specific man, but I feel that we are all watchmen, and that we need to tell the people that we know, at least the closest people to us, that this war is coming, and that they need to get themselves right. Verse 7, O thou, O son of man, I set thee a watchman upon the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the words out of his mouth and warn them from me. Now, this may not be the right person, and we don't know if there's somebody else going to be coming down the line. Do y'all understand this? I'm just saying, for right now, that's the only person that's given a warning message. The rest are just playing around. All right, so let's go to Jeremiah 30, verse 22, and it shall be my people, I will be your God. Behold, the whirlwind. This is something else that's happened in the last few months. A whirlwind of the Lord goes forth with fury and continuing whirlwind. It shall fall with pain upon the heads of the wicked. And now it says, in the latter days you will consider it. So we are in the latter days. I'm telling you, that is North Carolina. It also was Katrina years ago, right? But at the latter days, which is the last days where we are, that's North Carolina. We just saw this thing fulfilled. So going on, now this is, I need to go over this with you. Ezekiel 38, verse 21, and I will call a sword against him throughout all the mountains, said the Lord. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. See, that's civil war. That has been talked about in Ezekiel 38. At the same time, the war is coming on. It's being talked about. So is it a peace that has to happen before the Messiah takes this nation down? I don't know. There's a form of this being done because there's such a battle going on between the liberals and the Democrats. So you could say, well, because there's so much friction between the two groups, the liberals and the Democrats, that you might be able to say that was the sword against your brother, right? But this more sounds like there's some kind of civil war that takes place, and maybe a short one. But I mean, it's a verse for you to watch because I don't think it's been fully fulfilled. And will it be totally fulfilled, or is the Father just talking about the thing that's going on between the liberals and the Democrats? Anybody want to comment? Because
I think I have some thoughts on that.
okay.
Um, for those of you who might be familiar with Dmitri Duduman, who passed away many years ago, who has an amazing story about how God ripped him out of Europe and forced him to come over here and tell his visions. And one of those visions was that Russia would not attack until this event right here, until there was division that escalated in the country to the point that the government, there could be no control about it. And part of that division could be the allowing 10 million militarized people coming across the border. So that could be part of this too. But once the civil unrest escalates probably rapidly, and it's out of control inside, is when the attack happens externally at the same time.
I think it's a strong possibility of that because I don't think you've seen the end of the Democrats. I think they're going to try and play another card. And so they're going to try to keep Trump out of office. It may not happen, but there's scriptures that talk about both kings. You know, I read that to you last week or the week before when we covered Isaiah chapter 6, 7, and 8. It says a land where there's two kings. And that's what we are under right now. We're under two kings, one transitioning in, one transitioning out. Now, there's also talk about two kings in Daniel 8 and 9, where it talks about the two kings sit at a table and lie. So that has a, that's a totally different prophecy. But, it's very much possible that they will try to keep Trump out of the office. I mean, it's possible. And they may create this war between Russia to do it. They don't really care. They don't care. They just do not want Trump to, no, at no cost do they want Trump in there. And so, it's just something to watch. I don't know. Nobody knows. We don't have a crystal ball, but this is something to watch.
I have one more comment about you saying
Sure.
they don't care, is that the Revelation talks about them being drunk on the wine of their own fornications, and that's it's almost like what I see is like their arrogance is so high, almost like, and I have a very close family member who became a very heavy hard liquor alcoholic, and it's so bizarre that he doesn't care about anything. And that's what we see with the Democratic Party. Like they really don't care, like you said, except that they're caught. And almost that, then they just lie, but they don't care. Like, I think that's a good point. I think it's because they're drunk on the wine of their fornications.
Yes. Very good point. I'd say
That
a
is
10.
an excellent point, Terry. And, I just within the last few days been looking at all the murders that are, people are hostile and angered right now.
One
Right,
real
so
quick One real
yes.
quick thing too is this person that I'm talking about, that this that's drunk on, part of it's their own like narcissism, but I, for the first time in my life, and this was a close family member, because like what you just described, where as when they're challenged, when I ask this person questions, he will say, "I will kill you." And that's exactly, yes. So he has, and the moment Trump was elected, this began. And I know, Linda, you talked about this in the past where the nation started going mad. Literally the day that Trump was elected the first time, this guy went mad. And I have no doubts that he would fulfill that. He would kill me. I just thought I'd say that. And I think that's what we're experiencing with this group of people, the elites.
But yeah, being drunk on the wrath. And that's also goes back to Revelation 17, I think. All right, so we're talking about Assyria. Now, I talked to someone yesterday, and they still think Assyria is Germany. And they, and you see the storm clouds. Do y'all not see this? Do y'all not see the storm clouds? Do you not hear it in the news every day that it's Russia and China? You don't even need a Bible for that. You can figure this out without the Bible, because this is what's occurring right now. The storm clouds are on the horizon, and everybody's rushing to try to stop it, but you still have people that's in power, such as Trump, that is making comments to the BRIC, which he did this week. So how do we think that they're not going to come and do something over here? I mean, it just doesn't even, your own logic will tell you that they've been insulted many times by Biden. Now Trump gets up and says something about the BRIC this week. So, it's inevitable, is what I'm saying to you. Even if you don't use the Bible to look, it's inevitable. So I will send you against a hypocritic nation, that's us, against the people of my wrath. I will give him a charge to take the spoil, take the prey, that's the people, and tread them down as mire in the streets. The Father's not joking around here. Now look at this, because many people think, well, it's just Russia, maybe it's just China. No, it's telling you it's the whole eastern part of the world. Look at this, Jeremiah 9, verse 25. Behold, the day comes, said the Lord, that I will punish all of them that are circumcised, that's the Christian Israelite nations, with the uncircumcised, that's the whole eastern part of the world. And look at he lists the nations in verse 26. Edom is one of them. Judah is one of them. And, if you'll just, he's telling you that Israel in the Middle East is going to be a part of this. Do y'all understand what he's saying here in that verse? Israel in the Middle East, and we have held their hand, gave them money, support for years, and they're going to turn on us. I'm telling you, they're going to turn on us, and they're going to support Russia when this thing comes down. Here's your verse right here. Jeremiah 9, verse 26. And if you don't believe they're Judah, then Edom is going to be in the limelight too. They all, along with the Arabs, it just tells you the uncircumcised nations, those are the ones that don't practice Christianity, are the ones that are coming against us. I mean, the Father knows what he's talking about. It's not just one little nation called Germany somewhere. It's bigger than that, because we're talking about a major world war that sends 200 million men into battle. And so let's go on. I got to go through Ezekiel 38. We're going to do it quick because y'all know it. Son of man, set the face against Gog, the land of Magog. I'm going to show you who these people are. Here it is. Herodias. He tells you who Meshach, Tubal is. They're identified as the Sarmatians and the Mosheviks, okay? And that they live in the northern, they were living in the northern Asia Minor around the Black Sea. Here you go. You see, he's telling you who these people are. And now he've come back again. Here's another historian telling you that Magog was with the Scythians in southern Russia in the 7th century. And here's Philo. He comes along. He says that Magog is in southern Russia. See, there's no doubt that it's Russia. There's no doubt that he's talking about Russia here. And Gog is the ruler's name. And that right now is Putin. So it says, verse 11, Ezekiel 38, verse 11, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages, and to go to them that are at rest. We are not at war right now, that dwell securely. Now, a lot of people have argued with me that this is Israel in the Middle East. It can't be. They've been at war since they moved into the land. They've never been at rest. Do y'all see that? All of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. Now, here's the picture of Jerusalem. This is the wall. It's not talking to them. It's not talking to them. It's talking to a nation that has no walls around their city. I'm telling you, that's us. And that it doesn't even apply to Europe because Europe has towns with walls around them. So here it comes. Verse 18, it shall come to pass at the same time. Notice that word. You want to know when the earthquake comes? I'm going to tell you when it comes. When thou shalt come into the land of Israel. When Russia comes into our land. It says, the Father, my fury will come into my face, and in my jealousy and in my wrath have I spoken it. Surely in that day there will be a great shaking in the land of Israel. When this war occurs, that's when the earthquake comes. There's a man that's been predicting that earthquake. I'm telling you, he first said it was going to be after 90 days. And then he keeps predicting. If he just go to the Bible and read it, he'd know when the earthquake is going to come. Okay? I'm tired of these people always not looking at the Bible. They always want to make their own predictions. And you just need to stick to the Bible. And you can look at it and get it wrong because we're seers and we're just seeing what we see at that time. Do y'all understand that? Because it can fade and change as time goes on. But to just make things up and make predictions, that's just wrong. And so on so many levels. So going on, verse 20, and the fish of the sea and the fowls of the heavens and the beasts of the field, creeping things upon the earth, and all the men upon the faces of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. This is that major earthquake that's being talked about in Revelation 16, verse 18. And here are the voices, the thunder, the lightning, the great earthquake. There you go. And look what happens. It's a mighty earthquake. It's so great. Verse 16, 19, and the great city is divided into 3 parts. City is a country. So this land will be divided into 3 parts. The cities of the nations will fall, and great Babylon came into remembrance before Yahweh. So he's telling you it's Babylon that's divided into 3 parts, and all the cities fall. And every island flew away, and the mountains were not found. So, I mean, it's going to cause mountains to fall. It's going to cause islands to move. This is a massive earthquake. Going on, it's also talked about in Isaiah 24, verse 19, the earth is utterly broken down. Look at verse 20, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. And so that we know when it's going to come. It's going to happen while we're in the land, and it's going to happen when this war starts. And it's part of taking everything down, because he's going to take disassemble everything. And he has to do that in order to lay the foundation that he's going to be laying in this country, because he's going to use the people that are the believers to lay that foundation. So going on, verse 24, verse 21. Now, it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish all the host of the high ones. That's the ones, the cool kids at the table, right? And the kings of the earth. Now, the kings of the earth are different than the 10 kings that are talked about in Daniel and in the book of Revelations. The kings of the earth are your merchants. We're told that. We're told that in Revelations chapter 18. They are your merchants. And that's the people that are causing all the trouble right now in this country. They're the ones that are really destroying this country. And they shall gather together as prisoners and gather them into a pit, and they shall shut the prison, and many days shall they not be visited. Shut up the prisons, and after many days they shall be visited. So it says this is talking about the same time that they have the earthquake. It shall come to pass in that day. Do y'all see that? In that day, when they have that earthquake, then these people that are the high-ranking people, they're going to gather them all together and put them in prison. And that's the leaders in our country. That's the congressmen, that's the senators, that's the Hollywood crowd. All of them are going into prison. And that's what he's telling you. Now, the kings of the earth, this is Psalms 2:2. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh, against his anointed, and let us break the bonds asunder, cast away the cords from us, and he that sits in the heavens shall laugh, because the Lord shall have them in derision. That word derision is scoffing and mocking. So he's not going to let them do what they plan to do. Now, that doesn't mean the UN is not involved in something with Russia. We're going to cover that in just a minute here. But he's going to take these people down that have caused the problems. And now this may be something that happens a little later, but it's going to happen. And it says in the past, in that day. So it sounds like it happens at the time of the war from the way that it's just being described here. Now, the war is going to be, there's going to be some kind of military war with ships, because it keeps talking about ships everywhere. Daniel 11, verse 30, the ships of Chittim. Chittim is the old name for Rome. And we covered that a few weeks ago when I went through that history. Therefore, he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the Holy Covenant. The Holy Covenant is the constitutional government that we've set up. So shall he do, and shall he even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the Holy Covenant. So these ships of Chittim, there may be a battle that goes on in the Atlantic and Pacific before it actually starts on the land. I'm just saying it's possible, because they keep talking about it. Now look at Revelations 8, verse 9. And 1/3 of the creatures that were in the sea had life, died, and 1/3 part of the ships were destroyed. Well, they could be destroyed by many things. It could be, an asteroid. It could be, an earthquake. But there's something that happens in the sea. And you begin to see him talking about the ships of Chittim, which are going to be the ships of China and Russia and all these nations. That's who that's going to be, if y'all understand. And this is at the time, Isaiah 23, verse 1, the burden of Tyre. And Tyre was a city in the Mediterranean Sea that had a massive landfall, and it had an island. and it could never be taken down because the people lived on the island. It was too hard for the armies to get to her and take her down. So she stayed intact, but she was the major port for the entire world at that time. She was the major port. And today, who is the major port for the world? I'll tell you, it's New York City. New York City is the major port for the world. And so, and it has a landmass and it has an island. And so this is in this prophecy, if you start reading the prophecies for Tyre, you see that they never got fulfilled because Tyre is still up and running now. I mean, it's not like it was before, but it's up and running. So it's telling you the burden of Tyre, how you, the ships of Taurus, for it is laid waste. There's not one house that can enter into it. And then this is talking about the end time. That is strong possibility that New York City will be destroyed. I'm just showing you what the scripture says. I don't know any of this for a fact. I'm just showing you what the scriptures are telling you. Now we're going to get to the war in America. And see, this is what people don't understand. Most of the Bible is written to this country and the Christian nations right now. I mean, that's what it's written to. And the book of Revelations is almost written totally to America. I'm sorry that doesn't sit well with other people. You don't get into the other part until the last plagues. That's when they start dealing with the Gentiles, nations, in the 7 last plagues. Every information that's being talked about in the book of Revelations is going to happen here in America. Most people don't realize that. Now watch this. Revelations 9 verse 3, and it came to pass that the smoke of the, see, John's writing, he's never seen helicopters. He's never seen planes. He's never seen any of this. He's trying to describe what he saw. He said it was locusts on the earth. And he said they had great power, and the scorpions on the earth had power. Those are military vehicles he's talking about. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass or the trees, neither, or the green things. And those people, only those people that have not the seal of God in their forehead. So it's a weapons that they're aiming for the people. It tells you that they shall not kill them, but they shall torture them for 5 months. Now, this sounds so much like a war to me, and that it takes 5 months, that it's going to be a military battle for 5 months. And then after that, they're going to move in and take the spoil. And I saw horses in the vision, and he sat on them who had breastplates of fire and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were with heads of the horses. Those were military vehicles and planes. They were like heads of lions, and their mouth was issuing fire, smoke, and brimstone. See, he had no way to describe that. He was telling you he knew there were military vehicles, but he didn't know how to describe. So he's saying they have fire and smoke and brimstone coming out of them. Do y'all understand? He's talking about tanks. He's talking about planes. He's talking about helicopters. That's what he's talking about, because he has no knowledge of what those are. And he's just describing his vision. And now look at this, verse 18. And 1/3 part of men were killed. Exactly what scripture says would happen in the land of Israel. That 1/3 would die by war. Look at this. By fire, by smoke, by brimstone issued out of their mouth. The power is in their mouth and in their tails. You see that? And their tails are like serpents, and they had heads with them that they do not hurt. All right, so he's trying to describe, like I said, he's trying to describe the vehicles that he's seeing, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not for the works of their hands. So even though when this comes, many of these people are not going to repent. Now, see, this is the same verse in Ezekiel 5 verse 11. It says, surely because thou hast defiled my sanctuary. There you go. Do y'all see the word sanctuary there? Now, we don't have any problems figuring out who the sanctuary is now, do we? Upon the detestable things, upon the abomination, therefore I will also diminish you, neither shall my eyes spare, neither will I have any pity. And 1/3 part of thee shall die with pestilence and famine in the midst of thee, and 1/3 part shall fall by the sword round about thee, and 1/3 part will be scattered to the wind. Now, this is what I'm showing you here, that it's the same prophecy. It's the prophecy for Israel that falls in Ezekiel 5, 11, and 12. She's being called the sanctuary. And this is telling you here that it's the same war that's talked about in Revelations. We just don't know it. Now, if you go down and a little further in here, let's just look at this. I don't think I put those verses in there, but there's a verse that says that there's going to be 200 million men on the battlefield. I may have it in here somewhere, but I don't think so. I think I may have left it out. Now, getting to Revelation 13, verse 1. I saw the sand of the sea. I stood on the sand of the sea, and a beast rose up out of the sea with 7 heads. Those are 7 governments, and 10 horns. Those are kings. And upon the horns were crowns. Okay. Now, the next verse 2, and the beast which I saw was a leopard. Now, the leopard, if you remember, there was 4 kingdoms. The first one was Babylon. The second one was Medo-Persia. The third one was Greece, and the fourth one was Rome. Those 4 kingdoms were talked about in Daniel 2 and again in Daniel 7, right? Now, the leopard that is talked about in Daniel 7 was Greece, because he talks about him further, and he says that he was Alexander the Great. It actually tells you that in Daniel chapter 7 and 8, that the leopard would have been Greece. Now, I can go through that with you, but the leopard was considered Greece. Well, Greece was started by Alexander the Great, and that was a world ruling empire. Well, today that would be the UN. I mean, we only have one world ruling government, and that's the UN. So he's saying here that the beast was like the UN, and his feet had the feet of a bear, which would have been Russia, had the mouth of a lion, which would have been Britain, and the dragon gave power to the seat and its authority. This is talking about the UN. I mean, I didn't make this stuff up. Verse 3, and I saw one of the heads that it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. All right, now we need to explain here. There's only going to be 2 possible things that this can be. And I want to show you this. I'm going to explain to you. Revelation 17, verse 9. The 7 heads are 7 mountains which the woman sits on. The 7 heads are 7 governments, and there's 7 mountains. We know that a mountain is a government. Now watch this. There are 7 kings, 5 have fallen, and 1 is. That was when John was writing. Rome is now fallen, and the other is not yet come. That was the one that we see now that we're under, which is a socialist UN form of government. Do y'all see that? And when he comes, it will continue a short space. Yes, it's going to continue a short space because it's going to be taken over by the beast power. And the beast that was and is not, and even is the 8th. Now, the beast is also a man. It's not just a kingdom. And you find that because it says the beast and the false prophet are both thrown in the lake of fire. Well, that's not symbolism. That's actually happening. So, the beast can also be a person. And that's probably that man of sin. So it says that the head was wounded to death. And I'm taking this thought that when Russia and China come in, they take down the UN and they reestablish it. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're going to set up their own world government. And so they're going to set up a new one other than the UN. And many of those people that are sitting on the Security Council and wherever, those are all coming down. And so, and I could be wrong on that, but I mean, that's what I'm reading here. Now, the great beast, which had 4 kings, those 4 kings are America, Britain, and they're listed together when you read that in Daniel 7, Russia, China, and the UN. Those are your 4 kings. Those are the 4 kings that are talked about. One is the bear, China is with it, America and Britain are listed together. The UN is listed as, as Greece. And then you have the 4th kingdom that we talked about already, which is the BRIC right now. So looking at this, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, which is America, and possess the kingdom forever and ever and ever. That's pretty definite, because once this thing comes down, then they remove the people out of the land that the Father doesn't want here for right now, then we can reset this place back up. I mean, 3.5 years, a lot can be done. And so that's what I think it's referencing here. I don't think it's talking about something in the future that happens when the Messiah comes. I don't think we're going to be sitting on our hands. I think we're going to be setting something up when it comes. Now, looking at this, Daniel 7, verse 19, because he's saying, well, here these 4 kings come, and then the kingdom is going to be set up on the earth, which nobody realizes that's America. And when I know the truth, the 4th beast, the Gentile kingdom, the 4th beast, which is the BRIC, look at this, diverse from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth are like iron. There you go. His teeth are like iron. That's Rome. Rome was described as iron, and his nails were like brass. Brass was the description of Greece. There's going to be a new UN. So he may use some of those same people that are in the UN to set up this government, but he's going to have something like the UN set up. It could be that he uses the same UN and some of the same people in it. I don't know the answer to that, but it's together. Do y'all see that it's together? Iron, which is the BRIC, which is the 10 nations, the 10 toes, and the brass, which is Greece, which is the UN. So they come together. So Russia takes control over the UN is what's going to happen here. That's what I'm telling you. And it's obvious it's going to happen, that they're going to set up a world ruling government. But, so we get to verse 24, and the 10 horns, which we know are kings out of this kingdom, are 10 kings that shall arise. That's already happened. We're waiting for Saudi Arabia to sign off. Then they will be a 10 group nation. And it says, and another one shall rise after them. That is the kingdom that Russia and China sets up, the world ruling kingdom that comes in after these 10 kings, and it shall be diverse from the first and shall subdue 3 kings. Now watch this. Here is your Security Council. You have China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, which is Britain, and the United States. He shall subdue 3 kings: France, England, and United States. Going to take them off the Security Council. That's what they're going to do. Do y'all see this? This is obvious what they're going to do. Because these countries are going down. France is going down, England is going down, and the United States is going down. So they're going to be 3 kings subdued, all right? That's exactly what's going to happen. So they'll set this UN up the same way that they organize their own governments in Russia and China. That ought to be really interesting. Now, captivity, here's the verses for it. Ezekiel 5:12, I will scatter a third to the wind, and I will draw a sword after them. And I will bring, now look at this verse. This one's in Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And the Lord will bring thee into Egypt again, that's captivity, with ships. See, I keep telling you, ships are going to be involved somehow. And by the way, I've spoken to thee, thou shalt see it no more again. So some of these people are going to die over there, and they shall be sold unto their enemies for bondservants and bondmaids, and no man shall buy you. Wow. And it shall come to pass that when you say, where does the Lord our God do all these things? And thou shalt answer him, like as you have forsaken me and served strange gods in your land, so shall we serve strangers in the land that is not yours. So there's your proof right there. You're going. This nation is going to be turned over basically to all of these Gentile countries, and they're going to take the people out that they find. And and some of them may be converted people. They're going for, if the Father takes you, that's because you're going to have a job over there. This is going to be a time that the Father has planned out for centuries. Now, the mark of the beast, let's talk about the mark of the beast. This is simple. Watch what this says, Revelations 13, verse 6. For he calls both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Now, it is a mindset. We know that this is a mindset, that they have turned themselves over to liking this new kingdom that is set up. They like it, and they are willing to do it. Okay, they're willing. Now it is a computer system. And you're going to find out right here, it's a computer system. Look at this, 13:17, that no man shall buy or sell. So now you go into the grocery store. So you can't buy or sell without either having a mark, a number, or a name, it says. Now look at that. You have to have, no man shall buy or sell, save he that has a mark. Now we know the mark can be like a tattoo. It can be maybe they insert a chip. We don't know. The name of the beast. Okay, you have a user ID to get in that system. So you go to the grocery store, and they can look you up by your user ID. And so you can buy something by your user ID. Do you see the name of the beast? Not your name, the name that's in the beast system. And the number of the name, that's an assigned number to you. So either maybe you have a number, you have a card maybe that has a number on it, or you have a user ID, but it's more than one way to use the computer system. And that's what they're going to have. They're going to set up a computer system. You're going to be in that system, or you're going to be hunted, because that's how it's going to work. All right, Daniel 9, verse 27. Now, he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. This is the last 7 years. How do we know that? Because the next verses are going to tell you here. The last 7 years is this week that they're talking about here. And in the midst of the week, you will cause the sacrifice, which is the word slaughter, and the obligation, which is spoil, to stop, to cease. So somebody, either the Heavenly Father or this world ruling king, okay, he's going to come in this land in the middle of the week. That's in 3.5 years into this 7-year period. He's going to cause the slaughter, which is the war, to stop. He's going to stop the spoiling, which is the obligation, to cease. Do y'all see that? It's not going to drag on for 3.5 years. We're not going to have a war here for 3.5 years. We're not. It says in the middle of this 7-year period, which is the last 7 years, in the middle of it, he's going to stop the war. He's going to stop the slaughter. Do y'all see that? And he's going to stop the spoil. Now, here's your words right here. H 2077 is the word slaughter. It does not apply to sacrifices. It's talking about a slaughter of the end of flesh. Do y'all see that? And H 4503, which means tribute. So this is what happens in the 3.5-year period, is what we call the abomination of desolations. When this nation goes into war, we are in the midst of that. The 3.5-year period is when he will stop the slaughter and he'll stop the spoiling. But the war and everything that goes with it will stop. So the Father's going to take care of business. He's going to take the 1/3 out of the land. He's going to, 1/3 of the people will die. Then the rest of the people that are still left in this country will be in a land where there's no war. And that's for another 3.5 years. Now that's proof right there. And now we go to Daniel 7, verse 27, and the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole earth shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. That's us, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. All dominions shall serve and obey him. If you go to Micah 4, he tells you that that kingdom with his flock is the first dominion. And so the first dominion, meaning that we're going to come online first. That's what that means. The flock of the Most High, the Most High flock, which is what he's talking about, will come online first. They will have dominion. Now, when we talk about the mark of the beast, I didn't mention this. I know Brenda sent up something this week about Noahide laws. See, that's when all of that can come into play. That's when all of that, when the man of sin has set up his kingdom, he could enforce Noahide laws. He's going to set up a system, and we don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be ran through a world government, which is like the UN, if it's not the same thing as the UN. And so that's what I'm trying to tell you, that at that point, then you will see the persecution that really is talked about, where the people really have to flee for their lives if they're going to be believers. When he takes the woman who is in Revelations 12, she's protected in the wilderness. So that's pretty significant. There's other things that happen while we're here. There's looks like there's another war, but that's probably Ezekiel 39, but we win that one. Now it goes on here. This is what I'm talking about here. Isaiah 6, verse 13, and a tenth remain in it. And it says, whose stump remains when it is fallen is the holy seed, is the stump. So we are the stump. We are that foundation that gets laid, because when the tree is cut down, which is Babylon, which is the same thing as Daniel 4, the stump is left and the shoots come up from the stump. We are that stump. We are that holy seed. Do y'all see that? When he talks about us, he says, he asked the question, is the seed in the barn? We are that seed, and the barn represents protection. So he says, are my people protected yet? Because I'm not going to start this until my people are protected. That's what he's going to do. You remember what he did with Lot and his family? He took them out first before he started to burn Sodom and Gomorrah. So there's a period of time, I believe, that we have to get to where we need to get to. Yeah, this is when Revelations 13, verse 10. Everybody that comes here to take people captive or to kill them are going to die the same way. He tells you that's a promise. All right, now, this is where we come in. I'm going to make this really short. Joel 1, verse 13, gird yourself up, laminate, you priest, and how you ministers at the altar, come lay all night in sackcloth, ministers of my God. Sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the elders, all the inhabitants of the land into the house of God, and cry unto God. This is what needs to take place now, I will tell you right now, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. That's what the Father says to do. If we did this as a nation, it would stop, the whole thing would stop, but we're not gonna do it. And so it goes on, at last that day, the day of the Lord is at hand, the destruction of the mighty has come. I'll read Joel 2, verse 17. Let the priest and the ministers of the Lord weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, spare thy people, O Lord, and give thy heritage to no reproach, not to thy reproach. In other words, pray that it doesn't happen. If the people turn their hearts back, but we don't even have somebody that's telling them to do that. And so I think we need all to pray for somebody that could actually do this, that could tell the people they need to repent and show them that they're Israel. But this would prevent the war. If everybody did exactly what this says, this would prevent the war. So I'm going to stop here.
For more information about this broadcast, please visit our website at www.12tribehistory.com. That is the number 12, tribehistory.com, or email us at lwatson44@cox.net with any questions or comments.